Taeho walked slowly through the broken city. Once, this was Seoul. Now it was just ruins. The sky was gray, covered with ash since the aliens came. He pulled his jacket tight and looked at his watch. 4 hours until dark. 4 hours to find food and get back to his hiding place. The Krydex had taken over Earth 6 months ago. They'd brought ships, weapons, and strange beasts that looked like Earth animals, but were changed to be better hunters. These beasts could track humans by smell from miles away. Taeho was hungry. He hadn't eaten in 2 days. He saw a small store ahead and hoped to find food inside. As he got closer, he heard sounds that made his blood freeze, clicking noises that the Krydex made when they talked to each other. He quickly hid behind a car and held his breath. 3 Krydex hunters walked by with 2 wolf-like beasts. The Krydex were tall with green-brown scaly skin and yellow eyes. Their beasts had patches of fur with scales underneath and teeth too long to be normal wolves. Taeho stayed still until they passed. Then he slipped into the store. Most shelves were empty, but he found a door to a back room. Using his multi-tool, he opened the locked door. Inside, he found 3 cans of food, vitamins, and a first aid kit. As he put them in his backpack, he heard a whimper from the corner of the room. Behind a fallen shelf was a real wolf with white-gray fur. It was hurt, with a broken leg and cuts on its body. The wolf growled at Taeho, showing its teeth. Taeho had been a vet student before the invasion. He knew how to help animals. "Easy," he whispered. "I won't hurt you." Suddenly, there was a crash from the front of the store. The Krydex were back. Taeho had to choose. Leave the wolf and save himself, or try to help it and risk his life. He chose to help. Quickly, he opened the first aid kit and cleaned the wolf's wounds. The animal watched him with blue eyes that seemed too smart for a normal wolf. "We need to move," Taeho said as the Krydex got closer. The wolf tried to stand but fell with a yelp of pain. Taeho took off his jacket, placed it under the wolf, and began to drag the animal toward a back door. They got outside just as the Krydex entered the store. Hiding behind a dumpster, Taeho watched through a crack as one of the alien beasts sniffed the air and turned toward the back room. The wolf beside Taeho tensed, and Taeho placed a hand on its side, asking it to stay quiet. When the beast inside howled and ran toward the storage room, Taeho knew they had to run. He half-carried, half-dragged the wolf down the alley, taking a path with many turns to lose the hunters. By sunset, they reached a fallen parking garage where Taeho had made a small shelter between concrete blocks. Inside, he had water, a sleeping bag, and a small lamp. He gently placed the wolf on the sleeping bag and looked at it properly for the first time. Despite its pain, the wolf had a wild dignity. Its blue eyes watched Taeho carefully. "I'm Taeho," he said to the wolf. After months alone, it felt good to talk to someone, even an animal. "I'll call you Bake. It means white in my language." Bake laid his head on his paws, whining softly as he moved his broken leg. "I'll fix that now," Taeho promised as he took out the first aid kit. He carefully made a splint for the leg. As he worked, Taeho realized he was smiling for the first time in months. In this world where humans were hunted, he had found something worth protecting. Outside, the Krydex continued their hunt, but in the small shelter, man and wolf rested together, 2 survivors in a world that had forgotten them. 3 days passed. Taeho stayed in the concrete shelter, caring for Buck. The wolf's broken leg was healing, but he still couldn't walk well. Taeho shared his small food supply with Buck and cleaned his wounds twice a day. "You're getting better," Taeho said one morning as he checked the splint. "Soon we can try walking again." Bake watched him with those intelligent blue eyes. Sometimes, Taeho felt like the wolf understood every word. When Taeho talked about the world before the Krydex came, Buck would tilt his head and listen. Their food was running low. Taeho knew he needed to go out again soon. He waited until late afternoon when the Krydex patrols were changing shifts. "I'll be back soon," he told Buck, who whined as Taiho prepared to leave. "Don't worry. Just rest." Outside, the ruins of Seoul were quiet. Taiho moved carefully, staying in shadows. He headed toward an area he hadn't searched before, an old hospital. Medical supplies would be useful for Buck's leg. As he entered the hospital's broken main doors, Taiho felt a strange feeling. Someone was watching him. He looked around but saw no one. Still, the feeling didn't go away. The hospital was dark inside. Taiho used a small flashlight to see. He found a supply closet and filled his backpack with bandages, medicine, and some tools. On his way out, Taiho heard a sound. Not Krydex. Something else. He turned quickly, raising his knife. A woman stood there, a human woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She wore dirty clothes and held a metal pipe. "You move well," she said in a low voice. "I've been following you for an hour." Taiho kept his knife up. "Who are you?" "Jin-A. I'm with others, human survivors." She lowered her pipe. "There aren't many of us left." Taiho hadn't seen another human in months. "How many?" 23. In a safe place. Jin-A studied him. "You're alone." Taiho thought of Buck. "No, I have someone." Jin-A nodded. "Bring them. Come with me. It's safer together." Taiho wasn't sure he could trust her. "Why should I?" "Because the Krydex are looking for you specially now. That wolf you saved. It escaped from their lab. They want it back." Taiho felt cold. "How do you know about Bake?" "We've been watching. We see things." Jin-A checked her watch. "We don't have much time. Patrol coming soon." Taiho made a quick decision. "I need to get Buck first." They moved fast through the ruins. When they reached Taiho's shelter, Bake growled at Jin-A. "It's okay," Taiho said, touching Buck's head. "She's helping us." Jin-A stared at Buck. "It really is one of their test subjects. Look at its eyes." Taiho saw what she meant. In the light from Jin-A's flashlight, Buck's eyes glowed slightly, not like a normal wolf's. "What did they do to him?" Taiho asked. "They're changing Earth animals, making them better, stronger. This one must have escaped before they finished." Jin-A knelt to look at Buck. "They put something inside him, something that fights their technology." Bake let Jin-A touch his head. Then he looked at Taiho, as if asking what they should do. "Can you walk, Bake?" Taiho asked. The wolf stood slowly, putting some weight on his injured leg. He limped but could move. "We need to go now," Jin-A said. "Our safe place is far." They left the shelter. Jin-A led them through parts of the city Taiho had never explored. They moved carefully, stopping often to hide from patrols. "How much further?" Taiho asked after an hour. Buck was getting tired, his limp worse. "Almost there," Jin-A said. She pointed to an old subway entrance. "Down there." They climbed down broken stairs into darkness. At the bottom, Jin-A knocked on a wall in a pattern. The wall moved, revealing a hidden door. Behind it stood an old man with white hair. He looked at Taiho, then at Bake. His eyes widened. "You found them," he said to Jin-A. "Good. Come in quickly." Taiho and Bake stepped into the light of an underground room where other humans waited. For the first time since the invasion, Taiho felt a small hope. The old man put his hand on Taiho's shoulder. "I am Elder Do-hyun. Welcome to the Resistance." The underground base was bigger than Taiho expected. Old subway tunnels had been changed into living spaces with beds, a kitchen, and even a small medical area. 23 people lived here, all survivors of the Krydex invasion. Elder Do-hyun took Taiho and Bak to a quiet room. "Your wolf needs rest," he said. "Our doctor will check his leg." "He's not exactly my wolf," Taiho said. "We just found each other." Do-hyun smiled. Sometimes the best bonds form that way. Jinnah brought food. Real cooked food, not just canned goods. Tai-Ho hadn't eaten so well in months. Buck got a bowl of meat scraps, which he ate quickly. After they ate, Do-hyun called a meeting. The survivors gathered in the main room. They looked at Baek with curious eyes. "Tell us how you found this wolf," Do-hyun said to Tai-Ho. Tai-Ho told the story of finding Baek in the store, fixing his leg, and escaping the Kradex hunters. When he finished, Do-hyun nodded. "We've been watching the Kradex for months," he said. "They have big labs where they change Earth animals. They take wolves, bears, eagles, make them stronger, faster, able to track humans better." A man with glasses stepped forward. "I'm Sung-min. I was a scientist before." He knelt beside Buck and gently touched the wolf's head. "This one is special. Look at his eyes." Everyone looked at Buck's glowing blue eyes. "The Kradex didn't finish changing him," Sung-min explained, "but they did something important. They gave him something that fights their tracking technology." "Is that why they want him back so badly?" Tai-Ho asked. Jinnah nodded. "They've been looking everywhere for this wolf, triple the normal patrols." Do-hyun stood up. "We found something interesting. The Kradex beasts can't track animals and humans that stay close together for a long time. The mixed scent confuses them. That's why you and Baek escaped," Sung-min added. "Your scents mixed. The hunter beasts couldn't follow you." Tai-Ho thought about this. "So Baek is like a shield." "Better," Jinnah said. "He's a weapon. If we can learn what the Kradex did to him, maybe we can use it." Do-hyun showed Tai-Ho a map on the wall. It showed Seoul with red marks all over it. "Kradex bases," he explained. "Labs, living areas, landing pads for ships. Too many to fight directly." "What are they doing here?" Tai-Ho asked. "Why take Earth?" A sad look crossed Do-hyun's face. "They're taking DNA, the building blocks of life. From animals, plants, even humans. Their world is dying. They need new life forms that can live there." Sung-min pointed to a big red circle on the map. "Their main lab. If we can get inside, we might learn more about what they did to Baek. Maybe find a way to fight back." "But it's too dangerous," Jinnah said. "No one can get close without being caught." Everyone was quiet. Then Baek stood up and moved to Tai-Ho's side. Despite his injured leg, he stood tall. "Maybe we can," Tai-Ho said, putting his hand on Baek's head. "If they can't track us well together." Do-hyun looked at Tai-Ho and Buck for a long time. "It would be very dangerous, almost impossible. But worth trying," Sung-min said. "If we could get samples, information." Jinnah stepped forward. "I'll go too. I know the patrol patterns." Do-hyun sighed. "Rest tonight. Tomorrow we'll talk more." He looked at Tai-Ho. "This is not a decision to make quickly." That night, Tai-Ho lay on a real bed for the first time in months. Buck curled up beside him, his warm body a comfort in the strange place. "What do you think, Baek?" Tai-Ho whispered. "Should we do this? Try to help these people?" Baek lifted his head and licked Tai-Ho's hand once. His blue eyes seemed to say, "Yes." Tai-Ho smiled. "I think so too. If we can help stop the Kradex, it's worth the risk." Outside in the tunnels, the resistance whispered plans and hopes. For the first time since the invasion, humans were starting to fight back. 3 days later, Tai-Ho, Buck, and Jinnah were ready. Some men had made special clothes for them that would hide their scents better. Baek's leg was still weak, but he could walk without much pain. "This is the plan," Do-hyun said, pointing to a map. "This small building is a Kradex outpost. Not their main lab, but they keep records there. Get in, copy what you can, get out." Jinnah checked her small backpack. "We have 6 hours before dark. We need to be back by then." Tai-Ho knelt beside Baek. "Ready?" he asked. The wolf pressed his head against Taiho's hand. They understood each other now without many words. The three left through a hidden tunnel that came out 2 miles from the base. The city was quiet in the morning light. They moved from shadow to shadow, Jin leading the way. After an hour, they reached a hill that looked down on the Kradex outpost. It was a small building with 2 guards out front. Strange lights flashed on its roof. Not many guards, Taiho whispered. Is that normal? Jinna frowned. No, something's wrong. Then they heard it, cheering. Not human cheering. The clicking sounds Kradex made when excited. The beast games, Jinna said, her face pale. They're happening today. What are the beast games? Taiho asked. They catch humans and make them fight their beasts. For fun. Jinna looked sick. They're all inside watching. We should go back, Taiho said. Jinna shook her head. No, this is perfect. They're distracted. They moved closer. Behind the main building was a large open area like an arena. Kradex filled seats around it, making their clicking sounds louder now. There, Jinna pointed to a small door on the side of the main building. That's our way in. They ran quickly across open ground. No one saw them. The door was locked, but Jin had tools to open it. Inside was dark and cool. Strange smells filled the air. Records should be this way, Jinna whispered, pointing down a hall. As they walked, Taiho looked through a window into the arena. What he saw made him stop. A human man was in the middle, facing a beast that looked like a mix of tiger and lizard. The man had only a metal pole to defend himself. We have to help him, Taiho said. We can't, Jinna argued. It's too dangerous. Bake growled low. He seemed to agree with Taiho. Get the records. Taiho told Jin Bak, and I will create a distraction. Before Jinna could stop him, Taiho found a door to the arena cages. Inside were more beasts in cages, waiting for their turn to fight. And more humans, too. One man looked up as Taiho entered. He had smart eyes and steady hands. Who are you? The man asked. Taiho. I'm here to help. I'm Hansol. I was a scientist. The man looked at Bake with wide eyes. Is that a real wolf? Not one of their changed ones. This is Bak. He's special. Taiho began opening cages. We're getting out of here. Hansol helped. Soon 5 other humans were free. They looked scared but ready to run. What's the plan? Hansol asked. Taiho looked at Bak. The wolf seemed to understand. He ran to the door leading to the arena and barked once. We create chaos, Taiho said. Then run. Hansol handed out metal poles to everyone. These were meant to be our weapons in the arena. Not much, but better than nothing. Taiho opened the arena door. The Kradex were so busy watching the fight that they didn't notice at first. Taiho saw the human in the arena was about to lose. Now, Taiho shouted. Bek howled, a sound no Kradex beast could make. Every head turned. Then Taiho and the humans charged into the arena. Confusion broke out. The Kradex weren't prepared for humans fighting back together. Bek ran straight at the tiger lizard beast, teeth bared. Despite his smaller size, he moved with incredible speed. Taiho fought beside him. Somehow, he knew where Bek would move, and Bake seemed to know what Taiho would do. They moved as one unit, attacking together. The beast fell under their combined attack. The Kradex made angry sounds and began to stand up. Run, Taiho shouted to the others. Jinna appeared at a door, waving them over. This way. I got the records. They ran, Taiho and Bake leading the way. Behind them, chaos erupted as Kradex tried to catch them, but they were too slow. For the first time, humans had fought back. And won. The return to the resistance base was hard. They had to take many breaks to let the freed prisoners rest. Hansol was the strongest of them. He walked beside Taiho and Bake, watching them with curious eyes. You two fight like you share one mind. Hansol said, I've never seen anything like it. Tai-Ho smiled. We understand each other, that's all. Jinnah led them through hidden paths. They reached the base just as night fell. Elder Du-hyun was waiting. His face showed relief when he saw them. You made it back, he said. And you brought friends. The freed prisoners were given food and places to sleep. Hansol stayed with Tai-Ho and Bak. He wanted to talk. I need to examine your wolf, Hansol said. There's something special about him. Some men joined them in the small medical room. Together, the two scientists checked Bak carefully. They took a small blood sample. Buck let them, staying calm as long as Tai-Ho was near. Now I need a sample from you, Tai-Ho, Hansol said. From me? Why? Just a theory. Tai-Ho allowed them to take his blood too. The scientists mixed the samples and looked at them under a microscope. Amazing. Some men whispered, Look at this, Hansol. Hansol's eyes were wide. I've never seen anything like it. What is it? Tai-Ho asked. Hansol looked up. Your blood and Bak's. They'd started to mix. That's impossible, Tai-Ho said. Not impossible, Hansol explained. When you treated Bak's wounds, did you have cuts on your hands? Tai-Ho thought back. Yes, small ones from climbing through broken buildings. And Bak's blood got on your cuts. Probably. I didn't think about it then. Hansol nodded. And you two have been together constantly since then, sleeping side by side, eating together, breathing the same air. Jinnah leaned against the wall. What does it mean? It means, Hansol said, that Tai-Ho and Bak are becoming something new. Not fully human, not fully wolf. Something in between. The room was quiet. Tai-Ho looked at Bak, who stared back with those intelligent blue eyes. The Kradex were experimenting on animals, Hansol continued, trying to make them better hunters. But they also wanted to mix different kinds of DNA, create new creatures. Is that what's happening to me? Tai-Ho asked, feeling scared. No, not exactly, some men said. This is different, more natural. Your bodies are adapting to each other, becoming more like each other. That's why you fight so well together, Hansol added. You're developing a connection. Maybe you can feel what the other feels. Know what the other knows. Tai-Ho thought about the fight at the arena, how he had known where Bak would move before he moved, how they had worked together perfectly. Can we use this? Jinnah asked, against the Kradex. Hansol smiled. Yes, I think we can. He picked up the records Jinnah had stolen from the outpost. These show that the Kradex can't track mixed DNA well. Their sensors are made to find pure human or pure animal signals. Mixed signals confuse them. So Tai-Ho and Bak are invisible to them. Du-hyun asked. Not invisible, Hansol said, but harder to find. And there's more. He showed them a page with strange writing. This says their beasts can't attack targets with mixed DNA easily. The beasts get confused about which parts to attack. Everyone looked at Tai-Ho and Bak with new eyes. So what do we do now? Tai-Ho asked. Hansol had a serious face. We need to get into their main lab. If we can learn more about their experiments, maybe we can make something to help all humans fight back. A way to mix human and animal DNA safely. A kind of mask, some men said, to hide our pure human signature. But the main lab is their most guarded place, Jinnah warned. Tai-Ho put his hand on Bak's head. The wolf leaned against him. We'll find a way in, he said. Together. For the first time since the invasion, the humans had hope. A weapon the Kradex never expected. The bond between a man and his wolf. A week passed. The resistance made careful plans. They studied maps of the city, looking for a way into the main Kradex lab. Hansol and some men worked day and night, trying to understand the bond between Tai-Ho and Bak. Your connection is getting stronger, Hansol told Tai-Ho one morning. Can you feel his emotions now? Tai-Ho nodded. Sometimes I know if he's hungry or tired before he shows it. Beck's leg was fully healed now. He followed Tai-Ho everywhere, never more than a few steps away. Their bond grew deeper each day. Finally, Du-hyun called everyone together. We have a plan, he said. The main lab has air vents that connect to old subway tunnels. Too small for the Kradex, but humans can fit. Jinna spread out a map. 4 of us will go. Tai-Ho and Buck, of course. Me and Hansol to understand the lab equipment. It's very dangerous, Du-hyun warned. The lab will have many guards. If you're caught. He didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what happened to captured humans. That night, Tai-Ho couldn't sleep. He sat with Buck, his hand in the wolf's thick fur. Are you scared? He asked. Buck looked at him with calm blue eyes. Somehow, Tai-Ho felt the wolf's answer. Not with you. The next day, they entered the old tunnels. Jinna led the way with a small light. The tunnels were narrow and dark, filled with rats and stale air. They walked for 2 hours. We're under the lab now, Jinna whispered. She pointed to a metal grate in the ceiling. That leads to their lowest level. Hansol used tools to quietly open the grate. One by one, they climbed up into a dark storage room. The air smelled strange, like chemicals, and something else, something not from Earth. This way, Hansol whispered. He had studied the stolen records and knew the layout. They moved through empty halls. The rooms they passed held strange machines and tanks filled with green liquid. In some tanks, half-formed creatures floated. They looked like Earth animals but wrong, with extra limbs or scales instead of fur. They're experiments, Hansol said softly. They're trying to make new life forms. They reached a large room with many computers. Hansol went straight to one. This is what we need. Their research data. While Hansol worked on the computer, Tai-Ho, Buck, and Jinna kept watch. Tai-Ho felt strange energy coming from Buck. The wolf was tense, his ears forward. What is it, boy? Tai-Ho whispered. Buck looked at a door on the far side of the room. Tai-Ho felt curiosity from the wolf. Together, they moved to the door. Inside was a large round room. In the center stood a glowing column of light. Within the light, something was floating. A piece of land with strange plants. It's from their world, Jinna said, coming up behind them. They're trying to grow their plants here. Hansol joined them, his face pale. I found the truth, he said. Their planet is dying. The air is becoming toxic for them. They need new life forms that can survive there. So they're taking our DNA? Tai-Ho asked. Hansol nodded. Animals, plants, even humans, mixing them to create creatures that can live on their world. What about Buck? Tai-Ho asked. Why is he special? Hansol looked at the wolf. They were trying something new with him, making a creature that could bond with humans. But something went wrong. The experiment created something they didn't expect. What? Your bond with Buck creates a pattern they can't copy. Something about natural bonds versus forced ones. And, Hansol paused. The mix of your DNA is toxic to them. Tai-Ho was shocked. Toxic? How? I don't understand all of it. But your combined scent, your blood, it's like poison to the Kradex. They can't touch it without getting sick. Suddenly, alarms began to sound. Loud clicking noises came from a hallway. They know we're here, Jinna said. We need to run. Buck growled, looking toward the main door. Tai-Ho felt the wolf's warning. Danger was coming. Too late, he said. They're here, this way. Jinna shouted, pointing to another door. The air vents are through here. They ran, but it was too late. The door burst open, and 5 Kradex warriors rushed in. They carried strange guns that shot nets instead of bullets. Split up, Hansol yelled. He ran one way with Tai-Ho, and Buck went another way. Taiho felt his heart pounding as he ran. Buck stayed at his side, matching his pace. They turned down a hall, then another. Behind them, the clicking sounds of Kradex got louder. "We're trapped," Taiho said as they reached a dead end. Buck growled, turning to face their hunters. 3 Kradex appeared at the end of the hall. They made excited clicking noises when they saw Taiho and Buck. One shot a net that spread wide in the air. Taiho ducked, pulling Buck down with him. The net missed, but another Kradex fired again. This time, the net caught them both, tangling them together. Taiho struggled, but the net was too strong. The Kradex approached slowly, careful not to touch them directly. They used long poles to drag the net down the hall. "Buck, I'm sorry," Taiho whispered. The wolf pressed against him, still calm despite their capture. They were taken to a large room where many Kradex gathered. In the center stood a taller Kradex with bright red scales on its head. It wore a metal vest with strange symbols. "The Supreme Commander," a voice said from behind Taiho. He turned to see Jinnah and Hansol, also caught in nets. "That's Khazar, their leader." Khazar approached, staying a safe distance from Taiho and Buck. It spoke in clicking sounds. Another Kradex translated into broken human language. "You are the one who bonds with beast," the translator said. "You are problem, but also interesting." Taiho said nothing. He felt Buck's anger through their bond. "Many humans watch beast games," Khazar continued through the translator. "Now you be in games. Show all humans what happens to those who fight Kradex." "They're going to make an example of us," Hansol whispered. Khazar pointed at Jinnah and Hansol. "These go to work camps." Then it pointed at Taiho and Buck. "These go to Grand Arena." They were separated. Jinnah fought hard as they took her away. "Stay alive," she shouted to Taiho. "We'll find you." Taiho and Buck were put in a small cell. The Kradex kept their distance, using long tools to push food and water to them. "They're afraid to touch us," Taiho realized. "Our mixed scent hurts them." Hours passed. Then guards came and led them through long halls to a massive arena. Thousands of Kradex sat in seats around a dirt floor. On screens above, Taiho could see his own face and images of Buck. "They're broadcasting this," Taiho said, showing it to everyone. The translator Kradex appeared again. "You fight beasts, one by one, until you die. All humans see what happens when they fight back." The first beast was brought in, a monster that looked like a bear with scales and 6 legs. It roared, showing rows of sharp teeth. Taiho and Buck were pushed into the arena. The crowd made loud clicking sounds. The bear monster charged at them. Taiho felt Buck's mind touch his. They didn't need words anymore. They moved as one, dodging the beast's first attack. Buck went left, Taiho went right. The monster couldn't follow both. Buck bit at the beast's legs while Taiho grabbed a loose metal bar from the arena floor. They attacked together, perfectly in sync. The beast roared in pain and confusion. The Kradex crowd grew quiet as they watched. This wasn't what they expected. The human and wolf were winning. After a fierce fight, the bear monster fell. It wasn't dead, but it couldn't fight anymore. Khazar stood up, clicking angrily. "Bring next beast," the translator shouted. A second monster was released, a giant snake with wings. Again, Taiho and Buck fought together. Again, they won. The Kradex crowd was silent now. Khazar watched with cold yellow eyes. "Bring my champion," Khazar ordered. "Show these creatures real power." A huge door opened at the end of the arena. Something massive moved in the shadows. Taiho felt fear for the first time. Buck pressed against his leg. Through their bond, Taiho felt the wolf's message. "Together, we fight together." Taiho nodded, placing his hand on Buck's head. "Together," he agreed. Until the end. Khazar's champion entered the arena. It was twice the size of any beast they had faced before. It looked like a mix of tiger, dinosaur, and something not from Earth. Its 6 legs ended in razor claws, 2 tails whipped behind it. Its face had 4 eyes and a mouth full of teeth like knives. The Kradex crowd made excited clicking sounds. They were sure this beast would win. Tai-Ho felt sweat on his face. He was tired from the first 2 fights. Beside him, Vak's breathing was fast but steady. The wolf wasn't giving up. "We need a plan," Tai-Ho whispered. Khazar spoke again through the translator. "Now all see power of Kradex. My champion kill you. All humans learn lesson." The champion beast roared. The sound shook the arena. It charged at them with amazing speed for something so big. Tai-Ho and Buck jumped in different directions. The beast stopped, looking between them, unsure which to chase first. It chose Tai-Ho, turning to run at him. Buck attacked from behind, biting at the beast's leg. It roared and swung around. This gave Tai-Ho time to grab a broken piece of metal from the arena floor. High above the arena, Jinnah and Hansol were not in work camps. They had been rescued by resistance fighters who had followed them to the lab. Now they were in the Kradex control room with 3 other humans. "Can you make this work?" Jinnah asked, pointing to the broadcast equipment. Hansol nodded, typing fast on the Kradex computer. "Almost there. We'll show this fight to every human settlement. Let them see that the Kradex can be beaten." Back in the arena, Tai-Ho and Buck were fighting for their lives. The champion beast was smarter than the others. It used its tails to attack while its claws and teeth defended. Tai-Ho had cuts on his arms. Buck was limping again. But something strange was happening. Each time the beast hurt one of them, both Tai-Ho and Buck seemed to know about it instantly. Their movements became faster, more in sync. It was like they shared one mind now. Tai-Ho felt a new power flowing between him and Buck. He could see better, smell better. He could sense things before they happened. "It's working," he whispered. The bond between them was growing stronger under the pressure of battle. In the control room, Hansol finished his work. "Now," he said, pressing a button. All across the city, screens showing the beast games suddenly changed. Now every human could see Tai-Ho and Buck fighting the champion. Even in work camps and prison cells, humans watched. In the resistance base, Du-Hyun and the others saw it too. "It's really happening," Sung-Min said. "The symbiotic bond is fully forming." In the arena, Tai-Ho no longer felt like just a human. He felt Buck's strength, Buck's instincts, and Buck seemed to understand human strategy now. The champion beast charged again. This time, instead of jumping away, Tai-Ho and Buck ran straight at it. At the last second, they split up, each attacking one side. Tai-Ho stabbed with his metal piece while Buck bit deep into the beast's neck. The champion roared in pain. It tried to shake them off, but they held on. They had found its weak spots. They attacked together, moving in perfect harmony. The Kradex crowd was silent. Khazar stood up, angry clicking sounds coming from its mouth. All across the city, humans watched as man and wolf fought together. They saw how Tai-Ho and Buck moved as one creature, how their bond made them stronger than any Kradex beast. "This is what we need to show everyone," Jinnah said in the control room. "Not just that we can fight back, but how." On screens everywhere, humans saw hope for the first time since the invasion. They saw the surprised faces of the Kradex as their champion began to weaken. They saw the future, humanity's secret weapon. Not guns or bombs, but the bond between species, the power of Earth working together. And in that moment, everything changed. The champion beast fell to the ground, bleeding from many wounds. It tried to stand again, but couldn't. Tai-Ho and Buck stood together, both hurt but still strong. The arena was completely silent. No Kradex made a sound. Khazar stood up, yellow eyes burning with anger. It made sharp clicking sounds to its guards. They moved toward Tai-Ho and Buck with their weapons ready. They're going to kill us anyway, Tahoe thought. But he wasn't afraid. He felt Bak's courage flowing into him. Then a new sound filled the arena. A howl, not from Bake, but from outside. Another howl joined it, then another. Soon many howls came from all directions. The Kradex looked around, confused. Suddenly, the arena doors burst open. Jinna ran in, leading a group of humans. Each human had an animal by their side: dogs, cats, even some wild animals from the city zoo. Now, Jinna shouted. The humans and animals attacked together. The Kradex guards backed away, confused by the mixed scents. They couldn't track so many human-animal pairs at once. Hansol ran to Tahoe. It worked. We showed everyone how to fight back. People are forming bonds with animals all over the city. High above, the screen still showed Tahoe and Buck. Their victory had sparked something. Humans everywhere were finding animal partners, creating the same toxic effect that confused the Kradex senses. Khazar made angry sounds. It pointed at Tahoe and spoke through the translator. You destroy everything. Our world dies. We need Earth. Not this way, Tahoe said. Not by killing us and taking our world. More humans poured into the arena. The Kradex were outnumbered now. They backed away from the human-animal pairs, unable to fight against the mixed scents that hurt them. Khazar saw it was losing. It pressed a button on its arm. Alarms sounded through the building. They're calling for help, Jinna warned. We need to get out of here, Hansol said. Back to the base. They ran from the arena, humans and animals together. Outside, the city was in chaos. Kradex ships flew overhead, but they couldn't find the humans who had bonded with animals. Their tracking systems didn't work anymore. At the resistance base, Elder Du-hyun welcomed the returning fighters. You did it, he told Tahoe and Bak. You showed us the way. In the weeks that followed, the resistance grew stronger. Humans everywhere found animal partners. Dogs, cats, birds. Any animal could form a bond if they stayed together long enough. These pairs became known as the Fangs of the Forgotten. Those the Kradex had fought defeated, but who now fought back. The Kradex lost control of more areas each day. They couldn't track the human-animal pairs. Their beasts couldn't fight against creatures with mixed scents. They started to pull back to their main bases. Tahoe and Bake led many missions. Their bond grew so strong that Tahoe could see through Bak's eyes when they were apart. Bake understood human speech now, and sometimes Tahoe thought he could hear the wolf's thoughts as words. Hansol studied this bond. It's changing both of you, he told them. Making you something new, something better. 6 months after the arena fight, humans controlled half the city again. The resistance had become an army, with Jinna as a general and Tahoe as their best scout. One evening, Tahoe stood on a tall building with Bike, looking at the sunset. Part of the sky was blue again, not just ash-gray. Earth was fighting back. We have a long way to go, Tahoe said to Bike. The wolf pressed against his leg. Through their bond, Tahoe felt Bak's answer. We will win. Together. Jinna joined them, her own partner. A black cat named Night. On her shoulder. The Kradex ships are leaving, she said. Some of them, anyway. They're giving up on certain areas. They'll be back, Tahoe said. They need our world. And we'll be ready, Jinna replied. All of us, humans and animals together. Tahoe smiled and placed his hand on Bak's head. Once, he had been the last human standing in a ruined city. Now he was part of something bigger. The Fangs of the Forgotten were growing stronger each day. The future would be hard, but for the first time, it would be their future to shape. Not as victims, but as victors.